Also honoring the fallen, even with that rain falling today, VFW Post 5931 held its Memorial Day ceremony at War Memorial Park. The guest speaker, Commander Nigel Morrissey, reminded everyone that Memorial Day is about remembering the cost of freedom. Eagle Scouts and Girl Scouts also took part with speeches honoring fallen service members. Organizers say the weather didn't change the mission to make sure those who have served and sacrificed are never forgotten.
Today is about veterans who have passed. Always remember those folks who have passed. So it's always remembering those who have fallen, missing in action, prisoners of war.
Plenty of people still showed up to pay their respects today despite the rain. Well, hurricane season